WandaVision has totally brought the mutant gene into the MCU, and Agatha's backstory has me asking, what in the Harry Potter hell is going on here?
I love magic.
Beatty here with your breakdown of WandaVision episode 8. Wild to think, we only have one episode left when it feels like we just yesterday. We're starving for MCU content. The good news is we will continue to have videos just like this one when the Falcon and the Winter Soldier starts up and beyond, and we still have episodes of Phase Zero every Friday where you should listen on all major podcast platforms. Let's get to the WandaVision episode 8 spoilers. The episode is a look back at Wanda's life, and honestly, it's really tragic. The sitcom of it all is explained by memories Wanda has been suppressing because they are so traumatic, but she used to watch all of the shows that ended up inspiring the early episodes of WandaVision in that sitcom format, and that framed her perspective of what a perfect life should look like. So when she lost control of her grief after losing Vision and everything before that, she let it all out and her powers took over Westview, not only turning the whole town, including the gazebo from the Gilmore Girls, into a spruced up location, but also creating her own version of Vision. I'm guessing the theme of the town being so run down, by the way, is a reference to the post-Thanos snap state of the MCU world, seeing as this is less than 2 weeks after Endgame when that happened. Wanda never actually stole Vision's body from Sword as Hayward framed her to. She actually reacted pretty reasonably to seeing that Vision's body was being torn apart in a full-on nod to the Vision Quest comic book panels. When she tried to put power in his head where the Mind Stone once was, she said,
I can't feel you.
and that's a callback to Infinity War, where she said, I only feel you, when they were living happily ever after, and then Vision repeated that when they realized she had to kill him, so excuse me while I go cry.
I defy you, stars!
There was also the welcome home line when Wanda fully realized this new world, which sent me straight back to 2008 and Iron Man, where Paul Bettany told Tony Stark,
welcome home, son.
Wanda was able to do all of this with chaos magic, which is essentially any ability to create anything she wants in reality that she sees fit. This implies that a House of M situation might be upon us if Wanda snaps any harder and makes the entire universe whatever it is she desires, and does that for other people as well. Now, at the top of the video, I hooked you in by saying mutants are in the MCU, right? And that seems true after this episode. I've talked before in these videos about how an MCU canon book explained Wanda's powers were not given to her by the Mind Stone, but unlocked by the Mind Stone. I know a lot of you were like, oh yeah, well it's just a book, it doesn't really count. Well, it definitely goes now, because Agatha spelled it out after we saw Wanda have her powers unlocked by the Mind Stone in a flashback, and that was a scene set before the post-credits scene of Captain America: The Winter Soldier. This means the mutant gene would already have been in Wanda, it just took the Mind Stone to amplify it for her to use her mutant powers. You gotta wonder who else might be out there. I also think that Wanda used her mutant powers as a kid before they, as Agatha said, would have died on the vine if not for the Infinity Stone. She reached out to that Stark Industries bomb, which had a blinking red light to explain the Stark Industries toaster commercial from much earlier in the season, and it really looked like she was going to witch it away, but she never did because the scene cut. But how else would they have survived?
Well, performance issues, it's not uncommon. 1 out of 5.
Speaking of Agatha, she is full-on Agatha Harkness now, and a full-on villain, so much so that her own mother was trying to kill her back in 1693 in Salem, Massachusetts. Moms don't just do that for no reason. Part of this is really straight from the comics, as Agatha has literally been burnt at the stake in the books for being a witch, but she is much older in the books. Like, she was around when Atlantis was still above water, for example. In the MCU, it seems she's much younger, and also she's pursued by the Witch Coven for being a little baddie and breaking their rules, rather than the traditional Salem witch trials hunts for being a witch. Interesting thing here is that Wanda's powers are red, Agatha's powers are purple, Agatha's mother's powers are blue, and the Vision's existence creation is yellow. And Doctor Strange's powers are orange while we're at it. These are all very distinct parallels to the colors of the Infinity Stones. Bet you right now, if Nightmare's in the MCU, there's some green energy coming off that little demon, but we'll see if that ends up meaning anything.
Green?
When Agatha absorbs all the energy from the other witches, they basically have their life taken out of them, just like the kid in that Yo Magic commercial from a couple episodes back. And then there was the Nexus commercial with references to Nexus, Wanda's Nexus being from comics, which again means she is able to rewrite reality in pretty much any way she sees fit. So the commercials are starting to make sense.
Oh, I see.
Agatha also says Pietro is Fietro, aka fake Pietro, not to be confused with Fox Pietro, because it seems like the fact that Evan Peters played Quicksilver in both Fox Marvel movies and Marvel movies could amount to nothing more than multiverse theory bait, and guess what? It worked. I talked about it every week in these videos, you talked about it on Twitter, we talked about it to each other, and it probably is amounting to nothing. There's only one episode left to give some meaning to the face Quicksilver is wearing, and it seems like it might be nothing other than Aaron Taylor and Johnson turned this return down, and Evan Peters seemed like a fun meta nod to get us all talking. Go on. If you stayed through the credits like a real Marvel fan does, you would see that Project Cataract was truly a reference to Double Vision. Props to Comicbook.com video editor John Mason on being the first one to point that out to me. Good on you. The Vision in Westview is a creation by Wanda, which Hayward has been tracking, and Vision's body back at Sword HQ has been transformed into this White Vision, which in comics is essentially a murder machine because it has Vision's powers but not his humanity. This is seemingly the character Paul Bettany was teasing, and the actor he kept saying he always wanted to work with looks like himself, so joke's on us.
Okay, what?
Either way, Wanda has officially been called the Scarlet Witch, her character title from Marvel Comics, which we've never heard in the MCU until now. And we got our first look at her as a full-blown Scarlet Witch. Safe bet we see this in the finale and again in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. What Easter eggs and references did you catch in WandaVision Episode 8? Drop them in the comments section or send them my way on Instagram at BrandonDavisBeatty. And subscribe to the Phase Zero podcast, Comicbook.com's Marvel show, available on all major podcast platforms. New episodes every Friday. I'm BD. I'll see you there.